session with everyone lah here. Right, I have yet to discuss with Dr. Fauzihan dengan Dr. Hairul since last week. Ini the situation not really convenient for us. But don't worry, I will just let you know the progression on some of other assessment and so on. We'll update as soon as possible. Alright, so today I will assist you guys on the second session. We focus on secondary metabolites and plant defense. Alright, so don't worry. I have around 29 slides, but most of them are figures sahaja, so we can talk more. But when you talk about figures, I think some of your seniors knows saya sangat suka figures sebenarnya. So maybe would be some hint for you guys. For any figures, I would love the figures punya understanding lah sebenarnya. Alright, so please take note on that. Alright, so dan this session ada banyak figures as well. So I hope you guys can grab the hint lah. Alright, so anyone from here, since Nadia baru masuk ni, Nadia, are you okay? Dah ready ke? Hello? Hello? Tak ada. Tak apalah. Tak apa. So I will talk with Mas for regarding our next week punya session, right? So if everyone okay during this particular hours, Alhamdulillah. But throughout the weeks, I'm not too sure what will happen. Hopefully everyone is in a very good and very good condition. InsyaAllah tak ada apa-apa. So if anything, please let me know. Right, I will try to assist in some of the way lah later insyaAllah. Right, especially teaching and learning ni saya tak nak awak being pressure ataupun burden, rasa macam tak boleh nak join online session etc. So please let me know. I will try to assist on that matters. Okay, so we will talk about secondary metabolites today. Alright, anyone have any ideas as what secondary metabolites is sebenarnya? Pernah dengar ke sebelum ni? Or is it just a new thing for everyone? Right, pernah dengar ke sebelum ni?
Pernah.
Okay, what is the secondary metabolites? Apa dia? Tak apa, don't worry, jangan takut. Secondary metabolite, secondary metabolite pula. Nampak ke?
Tak.
Terkeluar balik Alamak, sekejap. Bentar ya. Keluar pula. Okay. Nampak ke? Hello?
Nampak.
Alright. Okay. Let's talk about secondary metabolites. Pernah dengar ke? Don't worry. Tak ada salah, tak ada betul. So we just sharing our session lah. Right? Pernah dengar ke secondary metabolite? I think some of you already heard about it. So anyone want to share your views on that? Nadia? Hello Nadia. Hello? Syuhada? Apa, jangan takut. Don't worry. It's just a sharing session. Tak ada salah, tak ada betul pun. Alright? Don't worry. Ada orang want to share ke?
Dia macam protein form ke doktor?
Sort of sebenarnya. Dia Sort of protein form sebenarnya. But let me make it simple way is just like macam kita ada primary metabolites yang dalam figures ni. Saya suka gambar kat depan ni. This is just more on a summary figure sebenarnya. Alright. So what you guys will learn for today lah. This is primary metabolite and this is secondary metabolite yang color blue sikit. Alright. Primary metabolite ni mostly kita nak buat carbon lah. For the building blocks, buat protein and so on. Alright. For the plants themselves. But for the secondary metabolite ni pula, so normally they just more on extra features for the plants lah sebenarnya. In simple words je lah, dia extra features for the plants. For example, dia ada bau wangi, dia ada boleh keluarkan repellent for example. So normally secondary metabolite ni sangat-sangat interesting lah. So in the research punya area sebenarnya, we are looking forward for secondary metabolite. Right, secondary metabolite ni mostly yang agak cliche lah, common lah yang orang akan try to grab adalah antimicrobial properties, right? So antimicrobial properties, for example, let's say plant ni dia infected by certain pathogen, for example. So they try to create their own protection, right? Dia buat secondary metabolites supaya pathogen tu tak boleh infect them. So we can consider that as an antimicrobial punya properties lah. Let's say pathogen is for microbe. So this is where we can go for the medical punya industry ataupun medical punya research area where we try to extract the secondary metabolites, right? Then we try to make some new antimicrobial medicine to be used for the medical field, in medical field for example. Ataupun yang sangat famous lah for now, I think you guys know lah, stevia, right? Pernah dengar stevia? So that is the secondary metabolite where they produce the stereoside, which mean that we call it alternative for sugar, sucrose, but dia ada rasa manis. Alright, so this is the thing yang kita try cari lah. So not just for the metabolites, if you go and dig deeper, kita go for the genes yang akan extract ataupun the genes yang akan produce that particular metabolites. So let's kita dekat pokok ni dia boleh keluar certain metabolites, alright? Contohnya phenolic compound ke alkaloids ke terpenes ke. Alright? So bila dia boleh keluar certain protein yang boleh rembeskan ataupun releasekan dia, alright? So kita try cari dan kita try genetic modified let's say bacteria ke E. coli ke. So that can produce this particular secondary metabolite. So we can use them ataupun extract them continuously lah. So rather than kita tanam pokok banyak-banyak dan kita extract, we just use the microbes to produce them. For example, this is just example, right? So this is the thing. Why kita nak belajar secondary metabolite ni? Because certain secondary metabolites from plants might be beneficial not just for them, but also for the environment and also for us sebenarnya. Alright? Before we go for secondary metabolite discussion, kita tengok dia punya inilah. What actually sebenarnya yang ada dekat plant ni sebenarnya ni. Dan kita go for one by one lah. Alright. So kita cerita pasal, this is general lah. So first before kita go for secondary metabolite, kita tengok what is the characteristics for plant sebenarnya. Alright. Plant. As we talk before, plant ni tak boleh nak bergerak. So they try to adapt with the situation, try to adapt with the environment lah. So what can they do to defend themselves? Alright. So dia ada structural characteristic. For example, dia ada cell wall macam kita bincang lepas. For example, dekat dia punya daun dia ada certain waxy punya compound. Wax lah kita panggil. Macam lilin. Supaya untuk mengelakkan ketelusan air keluar dan can protect them from any harmful physical punya contact with them. Alright. So this is form of physical barrier and inhibition for pathogen gaining entrance lah. Right, and then biochemical reaction. This is where kita nak tengok tu sebenarnya. Right, biochemical compound is first substance produced by the plant cell or the tissues, where this is the thing that kita nak look into lah, the secondary metabolites. And then third, genetic resistance. So this one more on dia punya adaptation. Ni macam kita lah, like we talked last week. For example, sorry, this is different class. For example, macam badan kita shoot vaksin. And kita produce antibody. So same goes with the plant sebenarnya. This is not directly vaccine lah. There's no antibody in plant, but somehow they have this SAR, systemic acquired resistance. So once they being bila dia dah kena sekali, dia akan ingat. Right? The plant memorize. So they will not be attacked by second time with that particular punya contact lah sebenarnya. Alright, so genetic resistance genetically controlled by the genes lah. So the genes yang ada dekat plant ni kita can detect sebenarnya. Alright, so once happen, kita can see what type of genes yang evolve. Kita boleh tengok lah what genes are upregulates bila dia kena infection. So kita boleh detect lah gene ni yang evolve during this particular pathogen attacks. So kita boleh predict the next time they've been attacked by the similar pathogen, these particular genes akan react and produce secondary metabolites to assist them. Something like that. Alright. So do not worry, ada banyak ni awak boleh baca sendiri dari ni. Saya just explain to you about the key points kat sini lah. Right, macam all plant have the coated layer, lipids and so on. So we go into detail about this. Alright. So first kali we want to talk about cuteins lah. Alright, cutein, waxes and suberins. Cutein is found mostly in above ground. So dia ada kat atas lah, bukan dalam tanah. Alright, it's a macromolecule, a polymer composed of long fatty acid chain that connected by the ester linkage and creating a rigid three-dimensional networks. It was a major component of plant cuticle and multi-layer structures. So dekat mana cutein ni sebenarnya? Dekat sini, area sini. Ini cell wall, this is cuticle layer dekat sini. So normally dekat bark, dekat badan ni and so on. Alright. So dan di situlah kita boleh tengok dia punya hardened areas, hard areas, so dia boleh protect themselves. Lagi-lagi kalau pokok-pokok yang dah besar lah. Right, this is where they can jaga diri dia sendiri in a way that cannot be attacked ataupun cause harm by any physical damage. Unless kita pokok tebang pokok lah. This is where they akan cause harmful for them lah. And normally dekat sini top layer of the cutein ni dia ada wax contohnya. Jadi dia akan salut. Give you a very good example is like macam mangrove. Pernah pergi tengok mangrove tak? Pokok paya bakau. Pernah pergi ke? Anyone?
Nah.
Pernah?
Pernah tengok.
Pernah tengok so if you got the chance, paya bakau ni sangat menarik sebenarnya. Alright. Paya bakau is part of our ecosystem actually. So kalau pergi kat paya bakau boleh belajar banyak sangat-sangat benda. Alright, for example macam akar dia, how the structure of the roots, how the structure of the branch dia boleh keluar. Kenapa roots dia macam menjangkau, bergerak macam tangan, jari tu for example. So dekat situ dia ada a lot of cutein and dia ada waxes area juga. So wax ni sangat-sangat penting especially dekat offshore punya area ni lah. Sebab dekat situ salinity is high. So they coated with the waxes, so they not easily kehilangan air for example. So this is where they can be coated ataupun dia boleh menjaga diri sendiri lah indirectly. Apart from that lah, so ini ada extra sikit pasal mangrove ni. But I was when I was your age, during my 4th year atau 3rd year, I joining the budak-budak master buat sampling lah. So we go to mangrove. Mangrove ni sangat-sangat banyak benda yang awak boleh belajar. In terms of plants themselves, pokok paya bakau ni, dan into ecosystem actually ekosistem pokok ataupun ekosistem the organisms, especially the fish organism. So akar-akar mangrove ni yang ada dekat paya bakau ni menjadi tempat untuk ikan-ikan bertelur lah. They actually sort of protected area for them. Sebab pemangsa besar susah nak datang dan dia banyak tempat untuk dia macam hidden place yang dia boleh bersembunyi. So that's why among people suka sangat nak jaga paya bakau ni sebenarnya. Supaya dia boleh jaga ekosistem dan dia boleh jaga a good symbiosis punya environment kat situ. Ikan boleh bertelur dan makan dekat situ dan dia boleh give some nutrient for the plants themselves. Right? However, due to awak pernah datang Pahang ke sebelum ni? Saya pernah datang kat Kuantan tak? Pernah? Pernah. Kalau pernah pergi dekat jambatan Tanjung Lumpur tu, nak pergi ke Tanjung Lumpur, dekat situ ada banyak paya bakau sebenarnya. So however, paya bakau sebenarnya dekat situ not really in a good condition sebab dia terletak di sebelah pendebatan ataupun urbanization areas. So banyak waste yang keluar. Dekat situ budak-budak master dulu when I was there, dia tengah study regarding sedimentation dekat apa nama? Dekat mangrove punya area. Kita nak tengok apa yang ada dekat situ. Contohnya banyak waste ke, banyak heavy metals ke being absorbed kat situ. So dia boleh tahulah ekosistem tu mungkin tak sihat. Sebelum ni ada banyak ikan, ada banyak siput. Lepas tu tak berapa lama lepas tu tak banyak. Dia jadi semakin berkurangan. So this is awareness untuk jaga benda ni sangat penting lah sebenarnya. Just a fun fact for everyone lah. Sebenarnya kalau kita tanam banyak mangrove ni, alright, tanam banyak mangrove dekat certain areas, untuk kawasan pantai ni, kita boleh buat land expansion sebenarnya. Faham tak maksud land expansion? Which mean that dia akar dia macam tu, so dia boleh trap all the sediment kat dalam. When offshore tolak, dia akan expand the land areas. So this is where how certain areas in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, they are planting a lot of mangrove, so they can use this kind of natural punya way to expand the land, something like that lah. Alright, but this is land reclamation, something like that lah. But this is very very interesting punya proses lah dalam progress. So that's why akar dia sangat-sangat menarik. Awak boleh tengok dia punya branch macam mana. Kalau awak silap jalan, dia ada pucuk, dia punya macam tajam sikit. Ada jenis Avicennia and so on, dia macam tajam. Awak kena jalan, awak kena pakai kasut yang proper lah dekat kawasan-kawasan paya bakau yang takut bila awak pijak tu dia sakit, dia tajam sikit. Alright, sorry cerita pasal benda lain pula. Alright, cerita pasal cutin lah. So this is where dia punya body is quite hardened. Alright, so there are a lot of cutin there. So next one adalah wax lah. Waxes ni I think everyone knows lah. Alright, senang kalau pergi masuk hutan, suka masuk hutan, nak pergi petik satu daun ni, awak toreh sikit gunakan pisau benda tajam ni, ada nampak benda yang colour putih keluar on the surface area. Normally dekat daun lah, lagi senang kita nak tengok. So daun ni proses photosynthesis, so sometimes they are protecting them in terms of the water losses for the plant themselves. Alright, so this is have the waxes area, so they can protect them as well. So contohnya pada bark badan dia keras lah, so daun ni agak lembut sikit, so wax dekat area situ pun will somehow protecting the leaf from any physical punya contact ataupun harmful physical contact, boleh menyebabkan necrosis of the leaf lah ataupun mati lah. Right, so this is very interesting, dia ada dekat surface area saja. Alright, so nanti you guys can directly read by yourself. So I explain the key point about suberin. Suberin pernah dengar ke sebelum ni?
Tak.
No.
Okay, tak pernah dengar. Alright, tak apa. Suberin ni dia simple dia macam opposite of cutin tadi. Suberin ni banyak jumpa dekat area bawah ataupun dekat area dekat akar lah. Right, this is why the akar can harden. Alright, so they are submerged, so they can be a protection layer of the roots punya area. Right, it was formed from fatty acid juga, but different structure from cutin, because often within the roots kat dalam akar, dalam dekat roots lah, dekat akar, can protect against pathogens and other damage. It's form a transport barrier between the soils and the roots themselves. Right, and older part of root more suberized, dia lagi kuat, banyak. Alright, so this is cara orang nak understand them. Simple, cutin ada dekat atas, wax ni ada dekat surface area, suberin ni dekat dalam roots kat bawah. Alright, so if you guys understand, it's easy for you to memorize. So jangan hafal nanti awak confuse. Alright, so please do it that way. Alright, so the next one, so kita belajar sikit chemistry lah, the chemical structures of cutin, wax and suberin. Alright, so I will just skip this. Alright, so this is not a chemistry punya subject, but we just want to understand the structures, what are they are made from. Alright, so this is where it goes. Alright, cutin is here, reductive fatty acid that polymerize to make cutin. Alright, so common wax, this is alkane, straight chain alkane kat sini, and dia ada form ester as well, together with long chain fatty acid and long chain alcohol together. Right, this is wax. So this is somehow suberin punya structure. Saya terlupa nak letak dia punya, I should put the chemical structure dekat tepi dia, so you guys can easily see how it goes. Right, but sebab the reason why saya tak letak banyak sangat chemical punya structure ataupun ni sebab I'm afraid you just try to memorize and bila tengok kenapa banyak sangat the structures, satu lagi nak memorize dan menghafal. So this is actually I will not ask this particular chemical questions if you guys, don't worry. I want you guys to understand the function. I want you guys to understand how it the location for that particular things that we discuss, right? Bukan benda-benda chemical structure ni. This is not a chemistry subject lah. Right? So as we talk just now, that is more on the primary metabolites lah. Benda-benda yang not sort of primary metabolites lah, apart from the carbon yang kita ada lah. So this is primary metabolite. Dia punya key point adalah essential for growth, development and reproduction of organisms. Right? Macam yang kita bincang tadi, production of the energy, carbohydrate and so on. Protein, lipids, nucleic acids and hormone. This is where primary metabolite is. Alright? Tadi structure of lutein, suberin dengan waxes, there's a lot of from the lipids punya structures. Alright? So this is the primary metabolites. The first line of defense ataupun first important matters for plant. Alright? So this is what we call the primary metabolites. For them to grow, develop and reproduce. So and hormone lah, they can produce. So this is where I think that this is very, very useful for the plant. And how about secondary metabolites? Molecules that are not essential for growth and development of organism. They are totally opposite kan primary metabolites. Right? Totally opposites. However, they produce but product produced for specific functions. Saya cakap tadi lah. For defense, for pollination, for protection of themselves ataupun to attract some pollinators. Dia keluarkan phytohormones ke, contohnya bees akan datang, burung akan datang, gigit makan buah dan dia akan produce banyak. But the specialized cell during certain development stage, this is important, and different organisms may produce different secondary metabolite. They will be derived from primary lah. Alright? Example dia macam terpenes, phenolic compound ataupun alkaloids. So this is among the major component yang kita boleh cari lah. Bukan component, this is the family sebenarnya. Alright? That's from the secondary metabolites. Alright? So it's now clear for secondary metabolites. Boleh faham ke?
Boleh.
Alright, it's good. So can we proceed?
Okay, boleh.
Okay Mas, saya rasa saya cakap banyak ni. Sorry tau. Kalau saya cakap banyak, potong je lah ya. Saya takut tak habis 11.45 ni. Saya minta extend sikit 11.50 lah. InsyaAllah boleh habis. Alright, so function of secondary metabolites in plant. They are formed by byproduct of intermediary primary metabolism. Alright, so they are also attract pollinators. I think you guys can read this thing by yourself lah here. They are formed from the byproducts or intermediary of primary metabolite. So this is very, very huge statement sebenarnya. Kalau faham lah. Alright, they are formed from byproducts of primary metabolites. Alright. So if you go for biosynthesis cycle and so on, alright. So sometimes they have the byproducts, alright. So these byproducts sometimes they are being used ataupun they are having the function as a secondary metabolites, ataupun they are the intermediaries, alright. Pernah dengar term intermediaries ke? Pernah dengar? Pernah, yes. So that is very good. Yes, chemistry. So the intermediary punya structure so sometimes they are being useful for secondary metabolite punya production. Alright. So contohnya in order from product A to product B ya. So dia ada intermediary punya structures. So sometimes that particular structure is being used as the secondary metabolite punya production. They can attract pollinators, kita cakap tadi lah. And act as agent of plant competition, protect primary metabolite from deteriorate herbivores, reduce tissue loss and so on. So this is among the detailed function. Tapi the function dia main dia adalah it's not essential for growth and development, tapi they have this particular specific function. And these are all the specific function lah yang bawah-bawah ni. Right? So antibiotic boleh, signaling agent pun boleh. Alright? So this is where they are being coming from. Alright? So let's go for the next one. This one. Ni adalah structure yang kita bincang tadi. So now you guys I understand the primary dengan secondary metabolite. But the primary metabolite, I think you guys know acetyl-CoA, the pyruvate, the PGA, how they're being made, right? So I believe on the half of the semester, you guys already may master about this lah. So we talk about this after this. But don't worry, as I did mention, kita bukan belajar chemistry, alright? So I just want you guys to focus on this particular thing. Phenolic compound, terpenes, and this one. Alright, nitrogen containing secondary products. Yang color orange kat bawah ni. This is kita punya end product yang kita nak daripada secondary metabolite. But this is the pathway dia. Malonic acid pathway, mevalonic acid pathway, MEP pathway, ischemic acid pathway, right? So aliphatic amino acid pathway. This is the pathway untuk dapatkan dia orang sebenarnya. Tapi don't worry, as I did mention, this is not chemistry punya subject. I just want you guys to understand where they are coming from. Alright? Okay. We go for each one of them, one by one lah. Terpene, then kita go to phenolic, and then we talk more lah. Di general je. But don't worry, as I did mention, saya cakap banyak kali ni, saya takut orang risau. I will not ask about chemistry punya questions lah. Alright? But this is not chemistry subject. But you need to understand what is terpenes, what is alkaloid, what is a phenolic compound, and so on. Alright? So this is from the secondary metabolite ni, ingat tak yang tadi, 3 benda, 3 family yang kita ni, terpenes, phenolic compound dengan this one, alkaloid ni. Ni adalah benda yang kita akan discuss pada dekat sini lah. First kali kita go to terpenes lah. Alright? They are produced from mevalonic acid pathway. Mevalonic acid pathway, this one. Right? Dengan MVP pathway lah. They function as herbivore deterrents. They can be produced in response to herbivore feeding and to attract predatory insect and parasite off the feeding herbivore. Alright? So this is key point dia. Alright? Deterrent ni maksudnya apa? Dia nak menghalau lah. I mean, dia nak, contoh ni, dia adalah plant. Right? Dia adalah plant. So dia tak naklah dia kena makan. So dia rembeskan atau dia produce terpenes, right? So the herbivore tak suka dia, tak boleh nak makan ni, for example. Lagi example macam peppermint punya daun, right? Dia ada bau dia dan dia ada rasa dia. So maknanya bila herbivore nak makan, dia tak lalu nak makan pun tak jadi nak makan. Something like that lah, alright? So they can be produced in response to herbivore feeding. Bila herbivore tengah makan, dia attract predatory insect lah, parasite the feeding herbivore to datang treatment. They are constituted of essential oils, and this is the building block 5 carbon isoprene unit, and they are classified by the number of isoprene units. Right? So this is the structure of terpenes. Alright? Enough for you guys to understand. Dia saja. Alright? Saya tak ada nak tanya into detail, but I want you guys to understand. Alright? So this is the structure dia. And then this is more function dia. The other, we go here lah ya. Right. Terpene functions, growth and development, chlorophyll side chain is diterpene, right? This you guys need to understand. Growth and development, terpene ni pun involved indirectly dekat chlorophyll, dekat gibberellin punya hormones, carotenoids, right? Pigment, abscisic acid, the hormone, and the sterol, the terpenes, right? So this is among the building block for the chlorophyll, alright? Dia ada diterpenes kat dalam ni, gibberellin hormones, dekat pigment, dekat carotenoid ni pun ada terpenes involved. Tapi dia tak involved majorly, tapi dia involved in part of the side chains ataupun dia punya sort of intermediary ataupun building block dia. Alright? For defensive compound, inilah benda yang kita bincang daripada tadilah, the secondary metabolite punya function. Dia akan produce toxins, feeding deterrent to insects and mammals. Example, resin of conifer are monoterpenes, essential oil are ni sekali peppermints and lemon. Alright, this one. Alright, so this is among the terpenes punya function yang dia berada dalam ni lah. Peppermint, limonens, apparently distasteful to herbivore. Bila makan ni dia tak suka lah, dia tak suka rasa dia. And same goes with the peppermint lah. So this is among the function of secondary metabolites under terpenes punya kategori ataupun groups lah. Alright. So this sort of things, benda-benda macam ni lah yang kadang-kadang the scientists ataupun researcher nowadays love to extract from this particular plant ataupun from the plants lah. So we can use them in a different punya properties ataupun function. Alright. Macam ni, volatile terpenes such as menthol broadcast a smell that once herbivore, the plant is toxic. So menthol punya ni kita gunakan bila kita dapat extract dia, kita gunakan dalam banyak-banyak industri lah. Untuk sabun dan bagi rasa berangin and so on. So this is the thing yang kita belajar, dan kita belajar compound dia, the structures and so on. Alright. The next one adalah ni sekali lah, tapi function lah. Sorry. So you guys can read them directly by yourself lah. This is menthol, this is limonene. Then we talk about phenolics compound. So phenolic compounds, pernah dengar ke phenolic compound? I think everyone heard about this, right?
Pernah.
Nah,
Alright, it's good, it's good. Sorry kalau stop me anywhere kalau you guys want to ask questions, alright? So don't worry, we just talk as usual. Phenolic compound. Plant produce a variety of compound that contain one or more phenol groups and called phenolic compound. Dia ada aromatic dengan aromatic compound lah, alright? So aromatic rings, they have the heterogeneous group. So you guys, I think this is more on chemistry punya background. You guys can directly understand them, ataupun at least from here you can have the general input about phenolics, right? Type of phenolics, and they are heterogeneous group. Some of them are water soluble, some of them soluble under carboxylic acids, and some of them are insoluble as well, right? So many serve as defense compounds against herbivore and pathogens. And other function dia adalah attract pollinators and fruit dispensers. Dia akan bawa, dia akan makan, dia akan bawa lagi. Contoh food dispenser, dia akan bawa buah, bawa lari, dan dia akan spreadkan buah tu atau benih dia kat tempat lain lah. Alright. So this is the N containing secondary compounds, classes of N containing compound. Alright. So this is more alkaloid lah. Alright. So N containing compound adalah alkaloid. Kita akan phenolic ni saja. Alright, tak apalah. This is just only the phenolic. This is general about phenolics lah. Alright. So they serve many defense compound dengan have the function ni sahaja. Alright. Bukan ni sajalah, dia ada this function for phenolic compound. So we talk about alkaloid punya compound pula. Alright. Those are encountered less commonly in plant than the phenolic dengan terpenoids. Alright. So those are important in view of bioactivity as drug and toxin. This is N containing secondary metabolites. So bila kita cakap N containing secondary metabolite ni, dia adalah daripada mostly the protein building block lah, nitrogen punya structures. Alright. They have the classes of N containing compound. Dia ada alkaloid, dia ada glucinolates, non-protein amino acid, and cyanogenic glycosides. Alright, glycoside, sorry. So this is N nitrogen containing compound. So daripada aliphatic amino acid punya pathway dengan ischemic acid punya pathway, carboxylic acid lah. So dia ada aromatic amino acid, dia ada aliphatic amino acid kat sini. So this is where they are form the amino acid ataupun the protein building block to produce the secondary metabolites. So first kali kita ada alkaloids. I love alkaloids sebenarnya. I study about alkaloid last time. Actually alkaloid ni can be part of the signal sebenarnya in between two particular organisms. Bila dia ada alkaloid punya rembesan ni, another organism can detect and can recognize. Something like that lah. Alright. So large pharmacological effects, most effective at deterrent animal herbivores. Often alkaloid are used as a medicine for humans. Morphine, codeine, scopolamine, cocaine, nicotine ni semua dia ada daripada sini. Alright, daripada alkaloid punya compound. While tobacco ada alkaloid punya compound. Can sense which herbivore is feeding on them is normally produce nicotine and alkaloid in response to herbivore punya feeding. But if nicotine tolerant caterpillars are feeding, the tobacco produce terpenes instead. Dia boleh berubah untuk keluarkan dia punya secondary metabolites. Alright. Kalau the mammal nak makan dia akan keluarkan alkaloids, which is the nicotine lah, to protect them against this particular predator indirectly lah, herbivore predator. Alright, kalau let's say caterpillar nak feed of them, they are using the different type of secondary metabolite to deter them, right, by using the terpenes. Alright. So cyanogenic glycosides. This is release the toxin gas hydrogen cyanide. Alright. So daripada N apa nama? Daripada N containing compound ni. Alright. Itu cyanogenic glycoside. Release a toxin gas hydrogen cyanide. Plant must have enzyme to break down and the compound and release the sugar molecule. Glycoside and enzyme which break them down are usually specially separated in different cellular compound or different tissues. Cassava. American native people eat cassava. Has high level of cyanogenic glycoside. Chronic cyanide poisoning are not uncommon. Kat dalam ni. So, dia boleh attract jugalah. So, one thing when we talk about cyanide ni jugalah, plant themselves can produce it. Another thing yang you guys need to understand adalah you guys pernah dengar pasal remediation? Hello? Tak pernah dengar? Tak pernah dengar pasal remediation. Let me tell you a little bit about remediation lah, while we talk about cyanide ni lah. Alright? Dulu pernah tengok dekat sungai apa nama? Sungai Kim Kim. Ingat tak? Yang heavily contaminated last time. Dekat sungai tu ada contamination. Yes. So you guys can realize certain pokok boleh mati, certain pokok are surviving dekat situ. Right? So this is what we call the remediation sebenarnya. Because I have a good friend of mine dekat biotech and I love sebenarnya remediation ni sebenarnya. So in a way kita can save the environment by using plant. So certain plant they have this particular ability to accumulate things dekat dalam soil. For example, ni cyanide ni, for example, heavy metals, mercury, and so on. Dia ada capability untuk absorb them from the soil. Let's say tanah awak contaminate dengan mercury. If you recognize ataupun you understand certain function of plant yang boleh absorb mercury, so you will be safe, environmental friendly punya way to remove the mercury in your soil. Tanam pokok this one, so they can absorb them. Right? We call it hyper accumulator plants. They boleh absorb things dekat dalam. And the make things interesting adalah they can even hyper accumulate gold as well, emas. Alright? So this is the thing my friend did. Alright? So benda-benda macam ni, however, while kita talk pasal cyanogenic glycoside ni lah, this is cassava ni dia boleh buat benda ni lah. They can produce this kind of toxin. Cyanide is toxin. But certain plant, they can absorb this. However, when you know this particular plant boleh absorb certain things, for example, heavy metals lah, paling penting lah, paling crucial. So kita tak boleh nak makan this particular plant. But we can utilize them to extract ataupun to accumulate the contaminants in certain areas. So then kita harvest pokok tu dan kita kena treat pokok lah, ataupun kita kena lupus the pokok supaya kita dah tak ada contamination. However, there's another type of plant. They can do both. They can remediate. They can remediate macam tadi, hyperaccumulative, and they can convert from the harmful compound to more ataupun to less harmful compound, inert compound. Contohnya mercury. Mercury adalah quite devastating. Alright? So they can absorb the mercury and they can change the mercury into the most ataupun less harmful compound that you can bila kita ambil atau memakan kita tak ada masalah with that. So this is the better version of the remediation punya plant lah. I mean better lagi daripada ni boleh buat toxin kan. So they can absorb the toxin and etc. But somehow, sorry saya berlalu kat situ sikit, tapi I hope you guys can have a new knowledge on that. But I love actually, we call it phytoremediation. Kita can remediate things kat dalam environment kita. Contohnya macam, let's say, oil spillage dekat dalam tasik ke dekat dalam laut ke. So boleh kita buat pakai chemical treatment, kita boleh buat banyak physical treatment as well. But less kita gunakan biological treatment. Kalau kita gunakan biological treatment ni, is more on environmental friendly, dengan maybe is less cost compared to chemical and physical treatment. So that's why I really love ataupun into jugalah with this particular study sebenarnya. I did some of my FYP last time using certain plant for remediate oil punya compound dengan heavy metal. That is the most common pollution yang kita ada dekat kita punya environment. Sorry, saya melalui kat situ sikit lah. So this is the thing yang you guys can understand lah. So daripada end producing compound, this is the thing yang dia boleh buat lah. But they can cause, sebenarnya dia tak, I think they more on dia punya protection base lah. Baseline protection for them. Right. Glucosinolates adalah this compound release volatile defensive substance like mustard oils. Often herbivore punya repellent lah. So herbivore ni tak boleh nak makan pokok mustard and so on. Plants like cabbage, broccoli and radish have this particular mustard oil punya features. Alright. So dia tak directly nak makan lah. Mungkin dia rasa tak lalu nak makan. So they can go for different type of plants they can eat. Alright. Okay, non-protein amino acid is the amino acid are not incorporated into protein but instead act as the protective substance taken mistakenly by incorporated into protein, therefore resulting in the non-functional protein. So this is more on general sajalah. The amino acid are not incorporated into proteins but instead act as a protective substance. Tapi not really clear what type of compound they have, but I think it's very clear dekat sini lah. Alkaloids, cyanogenic glucosides dengan glucosinolates ni, you guys can easily understand them. But this one is just enough for you to understand. There are some substitutable structures that have the N compound, tapi there is no amino acid compound, right? So this is the thing, reasoning. They sometimes mistakenly recognized as protein, tapi bila dipakai, there is no function as a protein, alright? So this is the compound yang kita cerita tadi lah, alright? Cerita early on, the three compound, terpenes, phenolic compound, and nitrogen containing secondary products, mostly alkaloid lah sebenarnya. Alright, so I think that's all. Alright, can we go for the last part? Is it okay? Alamak, sikit je lagi.
Okay.
Alright, thank you. This is more on plant defense, the process of plant defense. Don't worry, dia ada a few slides saja, but this is quite interesting. And for me, I love you guys to understand this much. Right? Kita dah tahu dah dia ada secondary motor blood and so on. But I love you guys to understand this, how the plant defend themselves against pathogens. Alright? Induced defense recognized by the pathogen, by the host plant, is the carbohydrate and fatty acid released by the fungus lah. Dia akan recognize this. And then they ada transmission. They set the alarm, atau dia bagi tahu, oh ya ada benda ni masuk. So what happen? The host akan produce calcium, hydrogen peroxide and enzyme to fight against this particular compound yang datang daripada patogen ataupun dia punya penyerang lah. Okay, senang cerita ni adalah patogen datang, dia masuk dekat host, dia akan release benda ni. Carbohydrate, fatty acids untuk serang dia. However, plant pula dia respond by producing calcium. Kenapa ada calcium? This is calcium pumping. Dia boleh neutralizekan dia punya ion kat dalam, alright? So they have the hydrogen peroxide as well, not HO. Hydrogen peroxide is more on oxygenated punya compound, can cause harmful, and as well as enzyme yang akan assist them to remove atau to fight against this. Enzyme ni can be variables, so certain enzyme can produce certain secondary metabolites to fight against them. Alright, so this is the induced structural defense and this is induced by the biochemical defense. So structural defense ni dekat luar lah. So contohnya bila dia kena serang, what happen is cytoplasm surrounds the hyphae. So they akan protect themselves by cytoplasmic using the cytoplasm, right? So they have the cell wall thickening. They have the histological cork layers, even in the root. Dia akan more aggressive on protecting dia punya main compound ataupun main bodies, alright? Abscission layers, thallosis gums, and necrotics defense. Like necrotic defense ni sangat-sangat interesting lah. Tapi I can say that I think not all plant will use this necrotic defense. Pernah dengar pasal necrotic defense tak? I think you guys know about necrotic kan?
Yes.
Yes. Dia macam bila kena serang dia bunuh diri. Bunuh diri lah. I mean dia matikan that particular part. So maknanya dia mati sekali-sekali dengan patogen lah. So they cannot produce ataupun dia tak boleh nak further infect the whole organism. Like that. Alright. So this is more on structural defense lah, more on physical defense. However, bila dekat dalam ni, right, what happen adalah what they can do adalah they cause hypersensitivity. For example, they can produce the antimicrobials, they can produce certain compound that can fight ataupun they can repel the pathogen attacks ataupun they can just matikan the pathogen and so on. And somehow they can also can produce the antimicrobial properties, right? They can produce the immunization process. This is what we are talking just now. Dia macam buat antibody supaya they can have the protections against the incoming attacks. Alright. And last but not least, a local and systemic required assistance lah. This is the thing yang saya suka. SAR, systemic acquired resistance. Once they detect, dia akan remember dan dia akan produce the similar situation atau compound untuk dilawan. Hello? Okay ke? Hello?
Okay.
Alright, that's good. Alright, so you guys can directly read this one lah ya. So I just want to go to the figure sebenarnya. Alright, this figure adalah this particular cascading compound. Alright, signaling cascade for defense response. Molecular nature of elicitor. Kita ada elicitor yang datang lah ya. Alright, kita kat sini lah, senang sikit. Alright, production, okay. What happen bila plant kena serang? Alright, what happen bila? So don't worry, this particular structure, this particular tulisan ni ataupun notes ni adalah pasal benda ni. Alright, so you can understand that, you can easily understand that particular figures later. Alright. So what happen adalah kita ada phytoalexin. Phytoplant alexin is to ward off, dia nak protect themselves. Structurally diverse group of metabolites with the isoflavonoids can be an example. The isoflavonoid phytoalexin are synthesized from flavonoid branch of the phenylpropanoid pathway. But don't worry, this is just general lah ya. Production of phytoalexin. Production of phytoalexin may be stimulated by certain compound called elicitor. High molecular weight substance found in the cell wall such as glucans, glycoprotein or polysaccharide. Alright, this elicitor. Gases such as ethylene pun sama, elicitor juga. In susceptible plants, a pathogen may prevent the formation of phytoalexin by the action of suppressor production of the pathogen. Alright, the suppressor also can be glucan, glycoprotein or toxin. Dia boleh jadi benda ni juga untuk protect them. Alright, so this is general information for phytoalexin. So what happen? Molecular nature called elicitor, cell wall protection. Alright. Kita skip this one. Kita go to here. Alright. So what happen sebenarnya bila pathogen attack? Alright, kita tengok sini. Alright, pathogen attack. Just ignore this. Just focus dekat sini and saya nak awak tengok ni pathogen, elicitor, receptor dan dia akan activation sini. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4. So ni adalah cell wall, dia plasma membrane. Plasma membrane ni ada banyak function lah ya. Receptor ni, genes ni dia boleh trigger the NADPH to buat hydrogen peroxide, cell wall cross linking, and this one pun as well dia boleh trigger the calcium pump kat sini untuk pumping influx of the ion. Alright, but the main process dia adalah pathogen bila dia datang dia produce elicitor. This elicitor dia akan bind dengan receptor protein ataupun receptor gene dekat sini. What happen adalah this particular receptor gene dia akan react. So apa type of reaction yang boleh buat? So dia boleh trigger dan hydrogen peroxide punya production. Dia akan trigger so calcium pumping untuk pump in and out the ion, so the imbalance ion can become balanced. Ataupun dia akan trigger this one. This is the main trigger bagi saya sebab Bila kita buat iron peroxide, dia akan go for trigger this one as well. Iron pumping pun dia akan trigger this one as well. So dia ada all cross linking sebenarnya, all of them. Alright. So maknanya once pathogen invade, dia akan produce elicitor. Elicitor ni akan bind dekat receptor. Receptor ni akan recognize the elicitor ni. So dia akan trigger 3 benda lah. Calcium pumping, influx, dia akan trigger hydrogen peroxide punya production. Which in a way, somehow these particular 2 things yang dia trigger ni akan trigger benda yang sama juga. Which is the activation of genes. For hypersensitive response, dia akan trigger the phytoalexin biosynthesis ke, dia akan trigger lignin biosynthesis ke, dia akan trigger salicylic acid biosynthesis ke, ataupun biosynthesis of hydrolytic enzyme. So ada benda banyak lah kat sini. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ada 6 benda yang dia akan trigger untuk dibuat. So at the end of the day, dia akan buat SAR, Systemic Acquired Resistance. So benda ni lah yang akan memorize benda yang berlaku. Benda ni, bila di-trigger benda ni akan occurs next time. So maknanya for example, pathogen A datang. So dia akan recognize. So bila recognize ni rupanya dia perlukan hydrogen peroxide saja untuk trigger. Hydrogen peroxide akan dia akan trigger resistivity punya respond for example. So dia akan trigger systemic acquired. So next time pathogen A datang, dia tak perlu proses ni lah. Dia akan ingat pathogen A datang, dia akan keluar hypersensitivity untuk prevent that. So buat ada pathogen lain pula, dia akan buat benda yang sama. So dia akan try to acquire the resistance macam ni lah. What happens in the process. So please understand 1, 2, 3 and 4 lah. So this side ni adalah extra for you guys to understand. But this is good for you to understand them as well. Alright, boleh faham ke structure ni? Everyone? Hello?
Boleh sikit.
Boleh sikit? Tak apa, nanti awak boleh baca, awak boleh faham lagi. Don't worry. Sikit je lagi ni. So dia adalah contoh je lah. Ni contoh je. Systemic acquired resistance ni cause systemic expression of defense genes and a long lasting response. Macam saya cakap tadi lah. Bila dah kena sekali je, dia akan trigger. Okay, ni nak pergi mana? Sintesis ni ke? So dia akan pergi salicylic acid ke? So dia akan trigger the response. Macam ni jugalah tadi. So dia pergi, when they response, apa yang dia kena buat? Ni ada trigger banyak benda ni. So genes dia akan respond lah. Alright. So salicylic acid is synthesized around the infection site is likely the signal that triggers a systematic acquired resistance. Salicylic acid ni. When a plant survives the infection of pathogen at one site, it can develop an increased resistance to subsequent attacks. This is called a signaling mechanism lah. SAR ni, systemic acquired resistance. Kena sekali, dia akan ingat. So don't mess with plant lah. Ingat muka awak potong pokok je, dia ingat muka awak. Budak ni datang lagi. Okay, contoh je. Alright. So this is the cascading response lah. So this is another thing lah yang another response yang awak boleh faham jugalah. I like this one, signal cascading for defense response ni. Ini bila pathogen datang. Alright. Ini bila dia kena serang terus dah. Herbivore dah makan apa yang berlaku kat dia orang. So don't worry, benda ni ada dekat belakang ni semua. Dan kita end the session lah. This will be our last part lah. Right. So first kita go sini. The wounded tomatoes leaf synthesize prohistamine, the last amino acid lah. This amino acid produce a short 18 amino acid polypeptide called histamine. Alright. The histamine is released from damaged cell into apoplast. Alright. Histamine is then transported out of the wounded leaf via the phloem. Alright. In targeted cell, histamine is believed to bind to the site on the plasma membrane and initiate the biosynthesis of jasmonic acid, a plant growth regulator that has wide range effects. Jasmonic acid eventually activate the expression of genes that encode proteinase inhibitor such as ADA, abscisic acid, salicylic acid, and pectin fragment from damaged plant cell also appear to participate in wound signaling cascade, but there is specific role. Okay, ini tak perlulah. So benda ni simple je. Alright. Go to sini. Alright. Bila dia wound, ni tadi dah kena, ini yang saya nak kena awak faham ya. Yang ni bila dia kena serang, dia disease, patogen datang. But ini bila dia wounded, alright, wounded, kena makan ke and so on. What happen adalah the wounded plant release hormone, and this hormone is called histamine, daripada protein lah. Protein ni dia akan, okay, just bayangkan pokok ni kena gigit oleh kambing for example. Alright, so what happen adalah dia nak trigger hormone untuk trigger balik pembaikan dia, alright, pertumbuhan dia balik. What happen adalah dia akan kena gigit. So what happen dekat daun dia ada remember subjek dengan Dr. Fauzihan, alright, flowworm, alright. So through that particular flowworm, alright, dia akan transferring the histamine ni. Histamine ni akan daripada flowworm tu dia akan daripada, okay, dekat leaf ni dia ada sel. Bila dia kena gigit, this particular cell akan undergo apoplas lah. Apoplas tu maknanya dia releasekan dia certain compound dalam dia punya cytoplasm. Alright, dia akan keluarkan this particular compound. This particular compound adalah histamine. So how histamine ni works, dia akan bergerak through the phloem punya vasculature. Alright, dia akan bergerak ke target cell. Dia akan pergi ke sel yang boleh trigger the hormone punya production, for example. Alright, so what happen adalah this hormone wounded histamine ni, dia akan move through the phloem, dia akan bind to the receptor. Alright, this is dekat sel yang lain. Ni sel daripada daun, so dia akan pergi dekat main cell, dekat batang tu, dia akan bind. Pergerakan dia memang through phloem punya ni lah. Dia akan bind to the receptors. What happen adalah in this receptor, dia akan recognize this is histamine. What happen adalah histamine when dia recognize, dia akan transport ni nampak, okay, ini ada transported the through phloem to the target cell in other organs. Dia akan pergi dekat other organs. Receptor ni pula dia recognize, dia akan trigger the lipase membrane lipid punya signaling, alright, dia akan trigger jasmonic acid punya production. What happen with jasmonic acid punya production? Jasmonic acid punya production, dia akan trigger another signal to produce ataupun to trigger activation of proteinase inhibitor genes. Right? So di here dia akan activate the expression gene that encode the protein, which is they akan produce this kind of genes yang keluar. Right? Abscisic acid, salicylic acid and pectin fragment from the damaged plant cell. Dan signal dekat sini pun boleh keluar juga. So jasmonic acid ni adalah plant growth regulator that have a function untuk assist them untuk pertumbuhan balik. Alright? So dia akan expression of another proteinase untuk inhibit plant tu daripada mati. Daun tu daripada mati supaya they can survive, and then another hormone can trigger them to regrowth. Alright? So this is what happen dekat dalam signaling cascade defense response ni. Dia kena gigit, dia akan trigger the release of hormone in bentuk dalam histamine. What happen adalah histamine ni akan ditransfer through the phloems of the plant into the different organs. Different organ pula ada receptor yang akan recognize the histamine, then dia akan trigger the jasmonic acid punya production. So when they trigger jasmonic acid punya production pula, dia akan produce activation of proteinase inhibitor genes where they can assist on plant punya pertumbuhan later. Alright, so this is the whole figures dengan this is the whole explanation ni. But explanation ni ada extra lah, don't worry. But I want you guys to understand the basic concept dia saja. Bila the wounded kena gigit, what happen, dia akan release the hormone. Hormone tu adalah dalam bentuk histamine lah. Histamine ni akan bergerak through the phloem punya vasculature dan dia akan pergi ke different type of organs kat dalam plant tu juga, and then they will be recognized by the receptor. Receptor ni akan trigger the production ataupun the biosynthesis of jasmonic acid, and kita akan dapat jasmonic acid. This is a plant growth regulator lah ya. Ni adalah hormone. And what happen when jasmonic acid appear, they akan trigger another signaling pathway that can trigger the activation of proteinase inhibitor genes that can assist with the plant punya recovery later. Alright, so boleh faham ke this concept?
I think it's too much as for now, but I will leave the slide. You guys can read them directly later. So it's easy for you to understand them. InsyaAllah. Right? Boleh ke semua? Alamak.
Boleh.
Sorry, extra 50 minutes with you guys. I'm so sorry about that. But I guess that is all for us for today. Alright. So this is the thing for today. InsyaAllah. Alright, ada apa-apa soalan ke? Before we leave, end the session. Hello?
Tak ada.
Tak ada eh? Alright. So you guys can read them later, but this is very straightforward sebenarnya. This is more info, tapi the figures tu saya need to explain lah. Tapi if you guys have any questions, please do communicate with me. Tanya je, I don't mind at all. I will assist you. Alright. So Mas, for next week punya class, let's discuss lah on the method, sebab jangan bawa berhenti dekat sini. Tadi saya dalam drive kereta ni ada few kawasan dah naik air. So we'll see how things goes later next week insyaAllah. Hopefully everything is good. We'll have more information through Mas later lah. Ya Mas, contact saya Mas.
Okay, dah boleh.
So jangan risau, don't worry, jangan rasa tertekan.